Hello, hello. What's up? What's up? It is a new day, it is a new week, and it's time to get social. My name is KaVonna, and welcome to the Introvert's Social Hour. Welcome. Today we are talking about if there is the one. Is there a person out there that is matched specifically to you, aka soulmate? Or are we out here supposed to just make our own matches? For this fun convo, I've brought my fellow hopeless romantic friend, Sabrina. Y'all know Sabrina. She has been in a few podcast episodes at this point. You already know we're both rom-com lovers in the book world, in the movie world, and all of the above. So we are truly softies when it comes to the love department. So I had to pull her for this episode for sure. So please welcome Sabrina. Woo woo.
Hi.
Hello. This is a fun one.
I know.
I'm very excited, especially too because I've been interestingly somehow getting into like the TikTok world of
Mhm.
there's like this TikTok channel called like Meet Cute, and like
God, yes, you got me into that. Oh,
yeah.
they're
See,
so cute.
they're really cute. And there's this recent one that's kind of like trending a bit. I saw it pop up on Twitter recently, and it's just like a reminder of just like, oh man, like just like cute
Yeah.
romance.
Yeah.
But I did want to talk about like the concept of like soulmates and different ideas and what people talk about in regards to that kind of like title, for lack of a better
Mhm.
word. So in my idea, once again for the listeners, these are just like general talking conversations. We're not professionals. I don't even think there's such a thing as professionals and soulmates. I don't know, but that'd be
No.
hilarious if there was. um but in my idea, as I grew up, um the idea of soulmates is like there's that one person who is made for you. Like there's someone out there who is specifically supposed to like match your other half.
Mhm.
And so like watching like really stories like TVs and movies and stuff like that, there's like this idea of like this perfect romance, which we'll talk about if there's such a thing as like perfect romance. But that was the idea that if you have a soulmate, they're like your perfect match. um is that kind of like the same thing that you found, or like what experiences have you kind of come across?
That's kind of what like my idea of a soulmate was growing up. I think that that's what everything shows you is this idea like this person was made for you, or this is the person you were destined to be with that you found that perfectly completes you. Um yeah, no, basically everything you said was just like spot on. That's exactly what like all initial like media or interactions with the word soulmate kind of had me thinking when I was younger, that
Yeah.
that's like the basic definition for it.
Ooh, okay. So I have a question for you then.
Hmm.
Do you believe that soulmates exist?
Yes, but I don't believe in that definition anymore.
Okay, please tell.
So yeah, I feel like as I've gotten older, I like obviously I am religious, spiritual. I do believe that certain things are mapped out for us, but I think that it's really, really bold to assume that like there's only one specific person for us.
Ooh, okay.
I think you can find a soulmate, lose a soulmate, and find another one again because our souls are so different all the time. I feel
Hmm.
like a soulmate at one part in your life, I might meet someone tomorrow who is perfect for me now, who completes me now, who I'm
Yeah.
like, you are my soulmate. Like, I love you. You are everything.
Hmm.
And then maybe something happens and I lose that person in whatever frame of reference that means. But that's going to like change who I am. Or just me living my life is going to change who I am. And
Hmm.
I don't think if I met someone tomorrow, they could be my soulmate. But if I met them like 2, 3 years from now, maybe it wouldn't work because I'm not the same person, kind of thing. So I feel like for me, soulmate has
Mm.
become something where it's like the person who completes me. So going down more into the like actual breaking up that little compound word, the soul and the mate,
Yeah.
like just someone who in that moment, every day to day, keeps matching me, keeps
Yeah.
completing me, keeps being the person that is the person for me, who I am at that moment. That's what it's kind of become for me.
Ooh.
Less of a like, this is destined for you,
Hmm.
more of a like, this is your perfect complement.
Yeah. Ooh, that's an interesting take. I've never
I
thought of it
know.
that way, of having like different soulmates throughout your phases of life, because you do have different phases and different transitions. Um,
Mhm.
I will say that I do still think, or I hope, let's say, I am
Mhm.
not for sure, where I'm like, oh yes, I definitely do think it's out there. My idea is that I would hope there is that person who is meant to
Mhm.
compliment you no matter your phases in a way. Like
Yeah.
for me, I think because I see those occasional, they're not very often, but I see those occasional stories where there's people who are like in their 90s and they've been together for like 70 years. And so much has changed in 70 years. You know how many phases
Yeah.
they went through with each other?
Yep.
And the beautiful thing about soulmates and the idea of like true love is like once again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like they were together
Mhm.
no matter what in their phases, their ups and their downs and
Yes.
stuff. So I really like that idea. That's a really cute idea for me. And that's the hope that I have. Um, but I think I'm still 50-50 on that.
Mm.
I don't know. For
Oh,
me, especially like in our 20s and stuff and the way things are these days, I really don't know, you know? Um,
yeah.
but I would like that. That would be cute. And then, and then the occasional, once again, TikTok videos I find, and I'm like, oh, maybe, you know,
Mhm.
I don't know. That's the hope. I
Yeah,
will,
no, I agree.
yeah,
Those old couple videos get me every single time. Oh, there's a movie who
right.
does it that does it. I don't remember what movie it is, but they have
Mm,
all these old couple stories, and I was like, "This one's so cute."
yeah, so good. Um, I do want to talk about, speaking of, actually, that's a good thing of like going into like, we're still young, but if you had any
Hmm.
like personal like encounters with like in regards to like love, relationships, and connections that possibly shaped your belief in the idea of soulmates, whether that could be, a movie that you watch or family members that um, I can think, hmm, I don't know the specific story, which is kind of mad because it was years ago. And it was like, once again, like this older couple, and they were sitting in their chairs and they were just like talking to the camera, maybe talking about their life story. And that I remember like that kind of like sparked some like joy in me. Um, I don't have any personal like familial connections that I can say where I'm like soulmate. Nothing that I can
Hmm.
think of necessarily. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, I kind of got into that hopeless romantic vibe because of the stories, you know, which is
Yeah.
like I got, but like
Uh.
the TV shows, the movies, once again, the rom-coms, like what Maddie and Jenna, 13 going on
Mhm.
30, the proposal, things like that. Are they soulmates? We don't know. They kind of leave that hanging in the air of like what happens with them, but I don't know. I just love
Yeah.
the idea of like finding people that match at some point.
Yeah. No, I like when you sent like those little questions, like precursor of like, oh, think about this. I was like, oh
Mhm.
my God, do I have any like real life from like, oh, they're soulmates? Like, absolutely. Um, and I couldn't think of very, very many where it like matched perfectly with my idea of soulmates, which made me think like that's also kind of nice to see is like there are all of these people who are in super wonderful relationships around me where I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know if you're soulmates, but you're just so happy. Like this is just so
Yeah.
wonderful. Like I wouldn't look at you and be like, yes, this is the definition I have in my head.
Yeah.
But you guys have such a beautiful relationship where I'm just like, that's also nice to know. Where
Mhm.
like this like idea of soulmate doesn't isn't like permanent. Um, I do personally think Gabby and Gavin
Oh,
are soulmates.
shout
So
out to
shout out
Gabby
to
and
two of
Gavin.
our friends. I do.
They are my parentals. They don't know this, so if you're listening, they are my parentals. I
Yeah,
truly adore
no,
them so
I
much.
love them. Cassandra refers to them as like their parentals too. And
Yeah.
so them and then my other, I lived with two soulmates, like
Mhm.
two couples who I believe are soulmates my last year of college during my grad
Yeah.
school. So because Grace and Vincent, two of my roommates, I agree the same thing. They just like balance each other so well.
Yeah.
Um, they like have been through tons of stuff together and they
Yeah.
have made it work. And I just like, it's just, like that warm feeling that you just get when you look at them. You're just like, oh my
Yeah.
God, you're so happy. You're so wonderful. And like,
Hmm.
I feel like those two super popped up when I thought of this more than like
Yeah.
anybody else. I was like, no, I think those two do qualify. So it's like really, really sweet to just watch it,
Yeah.
especially
That
because we saw like the Gabby and Gavin
we
relationship. Like,
we
yeah,
saw the
we saw
evolution. Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Gabby and Gavin, if
Oh
you're listening, we
man.
love you.
Right. Oh man, that's a good one actually. Because every time I see
Mhm.
them pop up and like Gavin's in his like dad shirt, you know, and
With
Gabby's
their
like
little
popping
puppy.
up, yeah, with their puppy. It's just so cute. They're so cute.
Yeah.
Um, in opposition of that though, so like we have ideas that made us, think of like love and possibly having that one person. Were there any instances in general that made you question it maybe, or have to like reaffirm that idea of the one? For me, I have some
Oh,
ridiculous ones.
go.
When Channing Tatum and Jenna Dewan broke up, I was like, y'all are supposed to be, mind you, I think I know these people. This was when I was younger. I was like, y'all are supposed to be together forever. They had just done Lip
um,
Sync Battle not too long ago.
I don't think this was like, oh, you were that young. I'm pretty sure
No, I
this
think I was
happened my first
college.
year of college.
Yeah, it was
I
college.
don't qualify that as like too young. That was like what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Five, yeah, but I was still like 5 year difference is big because I'm
No, I
hopeless
agree.
romantic
I agree.
now, but like me, oh man,
Back
yeah,
then.
yeah, uh-huh. So I was like, no, because I
Mm,
remember that was one, which was so
mhm,
ridiculous. I had, speaking of college, I was a house advisor in college, and I had
mhm.
two residents that had gotten together, and I thought they were so cute and they were so wholesome, and they just like match each other so perfectly. And then I found out that they broke up a year or two
Mm,
later, and I was like, what? So I was like, I was like, oh, I really thought that they were gonna be endgame. But that's just like
mhm,
the ridiculous ones, all right? I don't, in real life though, in real connection to me though, once again, I can't think of like any specific instances um of which I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I have that hope, but I don't necessarily get pulled back from it. I just keep myself in that middle ground, if
mm.
that makes
Okay.
sense. I don't necessarily distance from my belief in that, but I'm just like I'm centered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, oh, you made me remember because I also
Mhm.
was one of those people who was like, oh my God, love isn't real. How are they splitting up? What do you
Literally.
mean? Because I love Step Up.
Oh, so
Loved
good.
Step Up. And to
Hmm.
see like they fell in love on that movie, I was just like, oh my God.
Right?
But yeah, that was rough. That was rough, guys.
It was.
Um, for me, I feel like it's not like life has like pushed me away from the idea that there are soulmates because I still very firmly believe that there are.
Yeah. Hmm.
But I feel like it has definitely cemented because I think out of the two of us, I am the one who's slightly more cynical. Um, not on Nicole's level, but I am
No, yeah,
slightly a
yeah.
little more cynical.
I
I
feel like
think
I'm
it's
getting there
significantly
though.
harder. It's
Yeah.
so much harder.
Yeah.
And just like with everything, like the way that relationships form today, social media being out there and like totally messing a ton of stuff up.
Ooh,
Like you should see some of my students, they just everything is communicating over. Some of them have girlfriends and boyfriends or like partners that they have never even met. They just know them online. And I'm like,
that's
that
so true.
that's not how it works, guys. You have to see this person and spend time with this person.
Hmm.
Um, but then, there are also those stories, like especially during COVID, where like a lot of people were like setting their Tinder or their Hinge or whatever dating app to like a foreign country,
Oh
being with
yeah,
this
people still
person
do that.
in a foreign country. Like people still do that, but like
Hmm.
there was a huge increase of stories, and like
Yeah,
those people are still together today. They finally met in person after years, and then they're still together because like I
that's
have
what I'm
like this
saying.
one couple on my TikTok who pops up every once in a while, and they're still like super happy, and I'm like, I guess, but I feel like it just there's a lot dating in general, just
Mm-hmm.
the focuses of our generations has made it a little bit more difficult, I think, to find
100%.
soulmate. I don't know how many,
Mm-hmm.
again, we are entering our mid 20s, exiting the college age. So maybe
Ooh,
that's why like the
yeah.
blinders are on for so many people. I'm like, I don't know, I met many people who are like, I want to find the one for me, or
Yeah.
like the one in general. They're just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm here.
That's hilarious because that's 100% me. Um, at the time of this recording, fun fact, because this is going to come out a bit later. About the time of this recording, there's the current drama. Y'all know the current drama with Kiki Palmer and her baby daddy. But that stirred some topics, and one person had said like the thing is like people our age are starting to be more comfortable with being by themselves, you know? Like if they are
Mhm.
fully comfortable by themselves, if you add more problems to their life, they're not going to pull you in. So it needs to be a real perfect balance, you know? Like, so I agree with that. I am just kind of like here chilling, you know, and if something
Yep.
happens and something happens, and occasionally I do reach out and try, but then I try and then there's just like the
Yep.
struggle of the dating
Yep.
world is the struggle of the dating world. And so then I'm reminded why I don't. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm okay by myself. Like, I'll wait. And I'll wait for some cute meet cute to happen at a bookstore or something and just go from there. I don't know, or maybe I've seen really cute study abroad stories. Well, I don't study. Well, I did study abroad. Nothing happened there. It's okay though. And then, but I've seen cute like travel stories where someone traveled, they met their person there, and yes, they are distant, but eventually they find each other. Like this one girl, she had met her boyfriend in Italy, and eventually he moved to the U.S.
Mhm.
To live with her and be with her.
Like from scratch, except hopefully not sad.
Oh my gosh, stop. It's like, yeah, like
Why?
hopefully not stop. Great show for if you haven't
Oh,
watched
such a
it.
good show.
Just emotionally
So
prepare
sad.
yourself. Yeah.
They were soulmates.
But that's a good transition though, because I did want to talk about connecting our beliefs to storytelling. So, because I've said that a lot of mine come from storytelling. That comes from whether it's books, television
Mhm.
shows, movies. What are your favorite examples of love stories?
There were so many. There are just so many. I am
Mhm,
a particular fan of the soulmate like trope in romances. I love fantasy romance. That is one of the areas that I just like adore. I will eat up
mhm.
a fantasy romance any
Same.
day.
Currently reading one.
Um, but like I was trying to think of like the ones that are cemented as like these are my favorites, and I
Hmm.
couldn't really think of any beyond. Oh, and this is gonna sound so like, but Akatar is like the most recent and the most
Yeah.
prominent in my little brain up here.
Hmm.
And
A Court of Rose,
I
Thorns and Roses for the people who don't know.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, sorry, A Court of Thorns and Roses. And it's like it's prominent up here, but I think that
Mhm,
one does like a very strange like concept of the soulmate, but I like how it's approached as well, where it's like, yes, this person is destined by like this greater force,
mhm.
but like that doesn't mean anything. You still choose at the end of the day whether or not
Yeah.
they are your person. I've always been a big fan of like those kinds of stories where it's like you
Mhm,
have this idea of like this is your person, this is who you were supposed to be with. The gods or the universe or
mhm,
whatever has chosen this person, and you are able to recognize them. But at
mhm.
the end of the day, it's up to you,
Yeah.
because this doesn't mean you're actually going to get along with each other. This doesn't mean that you actually would work together. Um, but like I am bigger on the like just the stories. So like reading stories, like recently Emily Henry has my number. She's got me. I will be in
Yes.
line for whatever freaking book she drops. But in
Are there book lovers? Is it book
I'm
lovers?
thinking of Book Lovers, yeah.
Mm.
Because I think Book Lovers is my favorite one out of that. But Book Lovers, I think Charlie and Nora are soulmates. Like it's just a
Mm.
relationship where like it comes together, it flows together. It does not work out at the beginning.
Yeah.
They cannot, you know me. Anyone listening who's listened to the rom com, they cannot stand each other at the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
Um, but very quickly things progress, and they just do so well. And like there's a line where he's just kind of, I don't think I couldn't find it, so I can't quote it to you guys
Good.
perfectly. But there's a part where he's just kind of saying like he's just there. He's not
Mm,
enough, or he never says the right thing. And
mm,
she's like, you always say the right thing for me. You are always enough
yeah.
for me. And so I like stories like that.
Yeah.
Stories where they just find each other and become these
Hmm.
perfect little like imperfect, because these two are not perfect at all.
Yeah. No.
They like will probably have fights till the day they die in this little
Hmm.
book universe that Emily Henry has created. Um, and they have like super real struggles, but they're there. And like that idea, it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you aren't perfect for anybody else, but you're kind of perfect for me. Like you do just enough for me. Literally, you just
Hmm.
being here is enough for me. So I really love it. That one, Book Lovers, came up in my head because that is my
Hmm.
favorite rom-com book, like romance book in general. I really, really like it for that reason, because it's
Hmm.
a very realistic, it doesn't hide behind anything. And Emily Henry's been on record saying that too. She doesn't want perfect, pretty little things
Yeah.
because they're not real.
Exactly. I agree with that. I like book lovers. I was gonna say for A Court of Thorns and Roses, specifically Mist and Fury was when we found out, spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert if you haven't read them. Um, is when we find out that they are soulmates, and I agree with the idea that it is an it's a more supernatural take of
Absolutely.
of that like soulmate thing. Because I think we see that also a lot in like I would say like maybe like vampire fiction as well or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Oh no, werewolves, right? Question mark.
Yes,
Which one?
werewolf.
Yeah, werewolves has more of the thing with the mates and stuff. Um, but I would say you're good. I would say I don't know. I like the idea if it's written correctly and naturally in a sense. I specifically, like you said, them being able to choose each other, not just being automatically connected. That makes it strange. I agree with that. Um,
It feels weird when it's just
yeah.
like that.
I 100% agree. But I did like the natural trajectory because at the beginning she couldn't stand him, validly so at that moment. But then they eventually like found each other and found to love each other and respect each other. I think that's super key too. Um, what about television? Can I give you mine?
Yes.
I really adore Nick and Jess from New Girl. They're just my fun friends. I
Oh
love
my.
them. Yeah, they're my favorite. I was trying to think of other like television ones. Some of them I was just like when I really thought about my favorite like romance stories, I was like, but did I think they were soulmates or did I just really enjoy their romance? Because I thought of like um Insecure, like Issa and oh my gosh, why am I going blank on his name? If y'all watch Insecure, you know who she ends up with. I don't know why I can't think of his name right now. But when I think of them, they had that same like struggle of they were together, then they had a period where they weren't, and they were up and down, up and down, up and down. Then towards the end of the series, they find each other, they work it out. But then I also think, and because some people can stand the fact that they ended up together, but then I wonder like, were they soulmates, or do I see them possibly, falling off of them? We don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
because there
I
were a lot of
I
flaws in
ran.
their relationship.
Mhm. I went into the same problem thinking of this. It was like, I watch so many TV shows. Do I have any that like stick out? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'd give them that like label of
Hmm.
soulmates,
Yeah.
or if they're just like, because like I went right back to Once Upon a Time. It was
Ooh.
formational in my childhood. Loved that
Yes.
thing. My family and I would gather around the TV Sunday nights when they were airing Sunday nights and just watch it all together. Um, And I became so invested in so many relationships just potentially happening that I'm like, I think that that is a little like filter over the entire show where I'm like, I can't really give an accurate portrayal of any of these relationships because are you kidding me? The
Yeah.
moment Captain Hook showed up on that state on that screen, I was like, you were for Emma and no one else.
Yeah. I
Don't
do.
play with me.
That might be a soulmate one. That might be. Because
Maybe, but I'm also just like, but it fits my trope.
mm-hmm.
My favorite idea of a like fictional relationship. So I'm
Yeah.
also like, who
But
knows? Who
I
knows?
say that because if you think about it, the way that they meet should have never really happened,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
Like, so everything kind of matched up. Not
Yep.
necessarily for them, but that it happened and then they ended up meeting because of
Yeah.
all the altering things that were done with the curse and stuff. I don't
Yeah. If
know.
anyone ever really wants a convoluted show with convoluted storylines and relationship lines, watch Once Upon a Time.
Another
It'll get
quality
you.
show. Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so I
Hmm.
was like, I don't know. I got stumped because I
Fair.
was like, I think I just get too emotionally invested in my fictional characters for me to give an accurate answer to this
Yeah.
question.
Now you're making me question it because I was like, I really do love Nick and Jess, but maybe I'm like saying Nick and Jess because I just really love Nick and Jess. So
Okay,
I don't know.
bringing up a sitcom that we have grown to love over the
Mhm.
past year and a half, 2 years, Abbott Elementary.
Ooh, okay.
Is there also this assumed like idea that in media, in this media that we are given,
Mm,
we understand how certain things happen?
mm,
We understand. We can watch this first episode. You watch the first episode of Abbott Elementary, you know that Janine and Gregory, that's it.
yeah.
They're the couple we're following this whole time. You
Hmm.
watch the first episode of Friends and they blatantly throw it in your face that Ross and Rachel are the couple that we are going to be following.
Yeah.
Super inferior couple to Chandler and Monica. Ridiculously inferior. Terrible time. They messed
Hmm.
up that whole flow. But we know from the very, very beginning.
Hmm.
So Nick and Jess, I haven't seen the whole New Girl did lose me like after like the
Oh,
third season. I
okay.
know, I
It's
know,
okay.
I know. But I knew nothing going in watching it.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, obviously Nick and Jess. There they are.
Hmm.
Bones. Bones and Booth. There they
Oh,
are. So it's like,
another
is
one.
there
Yes.
this idea where it gets kind of convoluted because we
Hmm.
understand how these shows work. We
Yeah.
understand if we are introduced to these two people and they have even a smidgen of chemistry and they are main characters,
Hmm.
there is a likelihood of them ending up together.
Yeah.
And then we feel like we're kind of owed that. I feel like a lot of audiences are like, this has to happen. But then if it has to happen, like that, does that um devalue all of the other relationships that these characters find themselves in? What
Hmm.
if they throw us for a fast one and like they're like, nope, they actually were never meant to be together. Like they're not meant for each other ever.
Yeah.
Um, like one of my favorite examples of this is My Fair Lady.
Hmm.
Pygmalion's the play it's based off of. My Fair Lady, convoluted things and stuff.
Hmm.
But Eliza Doolittle and Henry Higgins are not meant to be together. Eliza has no interest in that man, but if you watch the musical, they very much make it like seem like they kind of
Hmm.
are in love at the end. And so it's like because they fall into those ideas of the characters, you're introduced to them in the first act and you're like, ah, yes, those two.
Hmm.
So has the idea of soulmates gotten tied up in like movies and TV and like even books with this idea of, oh,
Like
these two
chemistry.
characters make sense, so they
Mm-hmm.
must end up together, even if they
Yeah.
don't make sense together.
Mm. That's a great one. I have a question for you then, because I think about this.
Okay.
But maybe I'm wondering because it's been a minute. I did rewatch it about a year or some change ago. The Nanny.
Ooh.
Was that an automatic chemistry? Because I knew I try to think like with Fran and Mr. Sheffield. I feel like when you think of the pilot episode, yes, you see them like they kind of have that. If you want to say chemistry, like the hate to love chemistry situation starting,
Mm-hmm.
or annoyance. Really, they didn't hate each other. Annoyance to love, and it was more so he was annoyed by her.
Mm-hmm.
But was that something that gradually happened, or was it just guys like, oh, we saw it and it needed to happen?
So, okay, me too. It's been a long time. I want to say it's been at least 10 years since I've like solidly watched like more than just one episode of The Nanny. But but from what I remember, I feel like that's one of the interesting ones where I don't think for him there was an option.
Okay.
I think even if he was interested, the way that they like narratively put everything and the way that they're like just like the way that it works, like for him, it was never an option. She was it for him.
Mm,
Um, I think that Fran, that the nanny, she did have options. I think that if they had paired her up with anybody else, obviously fans would have been so upset. It would have been like, what do you mean? You've been setting him up the whole time. But I would have believed it. I would have been like, yeah, that's fine. Because
mhm,
I don't think he was like the most amazing match for her. I think she
mhm.
was very self sufficient and she could have found herself like complete and like happy with
Yeah.
anyone as long as she chose them.
Hmm.
She chose him. For him, I think he was kind of one and done. He was like he was doomed from the start. So
I could see that. Yeah.
I like that one. I like that one because of that. I was like, I feel like that one feels a little bit more grounded in the idea of like, yes, you two are soulmates in this. And I think that one goes a little bit more with my idea of a soulmate. Is like Fran
Hmm.
decided, yes, for me, this is what works. You
Yeah.
are my soulmate for these reasons. But for him, it was more of that idea of like, you're it. Like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah. You're my person.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay. So like a blend of both ideas. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's different per person. Ooh, that's that.
Yeah. What do you think?
I
Like
agree with you with
on that?
that. Yeah, I agree with you. As you were saying it, I was like, you know what? Because she had a lot of like, dates and people who pursued her. And yeah, he had the occasional thing, but I feel like never lasted more than an episode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, I like, literally can't even think of it. And yeah, he had like Cece trying to like, be with him, but poor Cece. It was never gonna
Poor Cece.
happen. Yeah.
No.
But yeah, I agree. Like even when he was annoyed with Fran, he still kept all of his attention on her.
Mm-hmm.
Like it never strayed away. Like he was like, oh, like go away, Miss Fine. And somehow he's got another reason to like interact with her or think about her. So yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. Because she was doing her own thing. She's a wild card.
Yep.
Because like that's why I love Fran, random note, just because like she's literally doing her own thing. She's worried about her fashion. She's, she eventually learns to love the kids. Like she's really just a career woman in reality of it all. So yeah. Um, okay. And then the last one. I do want to know, were there any movies that pulled your ideas of soulmates? I'm gonna give you one and tell me what you think.
Okay.
Last letter to your lover.
Oh my God. Oh, that one hurts. You know how I feel about an affair story.
I
But
know,
I was like,
that's why I said, tell me what you think.
I do. I do think they were soulmates. Now I'm just like,
I
look
see
what
your
you
face. I'm
did.
so sorry.
Look what you did. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Um, no, I do. I do think they're soulmates. And I think it's like it's a beautifully like tragic idea that it took so long for
Yeah.
everything to progress the way that it did. But like just the whole I can't even speak. It's
I'm
such a
so
good
sorry. I had to
story.
pull that
It's
one. That was
okay.
the perfect idea of what,
Ugh,
yeah.
I do. Because I think that they challenged each other enough that
Hmm.
they were able to hold like so many conversations, that they valued each other as people from like the
Yeah.
little bits that we see. I still want to read the book,
Oh
but I know that the
yeah.
book is going to destroy me. So I'm holding off.
Hmm.
And then I mean, with the ending, obviously, like there were just so many little moments.
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to spoil anything, but with that ending, I feel like it just really cements the idea that yes, they were meant for each other, that
Exactly.
they were each other's person.
Mhm.
And so, like, I do. I like that one. That was a good one.
Okay. What
I
is
don't like to think
yours?
about it.
I know. Well, we
So
can move on.
listen, I didn't pick a single one, but
Okay.
when I was thinking of this, I'm gonna sound like a child, but I did grow up with Disney.
I
And all
okay, let me
their
see if I think you're gonna say you're gonna say.
so they have very unrealistic situations.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like most Disney movies take place over what, a span of a day or two. Um,
Yeah.
and so even though I adore Jasmine, she's my girl. She's been my favorite princess my whole life. Like her and Aladdin. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Um, I think Rapunzel and Flint for me were the
Okay.
first time where I saw like a Disney movie. This like like where I liked it, and I like that Disney's adding things because these two like it ends the story saying like they didn't just go and get married. It took like
Mm-hmm.
a while. It took a while.
Yeah.
But I think that that idea that like you were my new dream, following dreams together, all of that. I was just like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
I think Disney finally actually showed this idea of a soulmate. But growing up, that was the whole idea. It's like that's the reason these people can like meet one day and then be married in like 2 or 3 is because they're soulmates. So what matters? Nothing
Mm-hmm.
matters. They're just destined for each other. So
Yeah.
like that was, I mean, that's where that whole idea of like a soulmate is your person who is chosen for you, and then that's it. You'll know it and you'll be like, okay, let's get married, let's
Mm-hmm.
live happily ever after comes from is
Yeah.
because I grew up watching all of those movies. Those were the movies that like I really, my parents thought I was going to break the Snow White VHS, age dating myself here, but they thought I was going to like destroy the VHS because I watched it so much when I was like 2.
Yeah.
um so I think that was a very foundational thing. That's what really, really popped into my brain when I like thought of this idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I also think that that is a lot of people's introduction to that idea as well. And
I agree.
so I'm glad Tangled is out there because at least in that one, they don't just meet this random stranger and
Mm-hmm.
say, "Yeah, I'll marry you. You're pretty." Okay, that works for me. And
Yeah.
then so.
I agree with that one. Along the same lines too, I would say I really enjoyed when Princess and the Frog came out because yeah, Tiana and Naveen, like how they came together. Yeah, we do see them, get married and stuff too, but um we see them, it's so interesting. We see them, it's also a hate to love story. We see them can't stand each other. They're in like the
Mhm,
worst situation of their lives. Completely different human being, like not human beings, completely different creatures. They're on a journey together, and then
mhm.
they go through a battle together, and then they're stuck, and then somehow they fall in love in a completely different circumstance. And I like that one. I like that idea, and for as far as Disney goes.
Well, I also like that one because it's that
Mhm.
idea of sometimes what you want isn't actually what you need.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Because like
Yeah.
that whole dig a little deeper, like
Mm-hmm.
it clicks for Naveen right in that moment. He's like, I do not care. I'm going to marry this girl. Doesn't matter that she has doesn't have money.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter that that's what I kind of wanted to do because my parents cut me off. He's like, she's
Yeah.
what I need. And
Mm-hmm.
it took Tiana a lot longer to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But then we see like the completion, the kissing a princess type of thing.
Yeah.
So I like that is like the idea that sometimes what you're looking for is not actually what's meant for you or what you actually need. It's
Mm-hmm.
just your like little idea up here in your brain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh.
But to sort of derail, but also kind of not.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what TV shows. I wanted to talk about Christina Yang and Meredith Grey from Grey's Anatomy because
Oh.
they are
Yeah.
so like
Mm-hmm.
yeah that there are soulmates beyond like this romantic thing. Like because I
Yeah.
use the word
Friendship
person a
soulmates.
lot, and I
Mm-hmm.
use that word because of Grey's
Grey's
Anatomy
Anatomy.
because
Yeah.
they are each other's person. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have my person.
Yeah.
Like people can have their soulmate, like a platonic soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, that has also been reaffirmed and reinforced by a lot of media, and that one
Mm-hmm.
more in real life. Like you meet a person and you're like, yes, you are
Yeah.
it. You are my person no matter what. You are in my life for forever, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know how you feel about that.
You said that and I was like, yeah. The first like real life example I could think of, I don't know if you watch like the Terrell show, but I think of like Terrell and Coco. Like the minute
Mm-hmm.
you see like Coco Jones, the first time she meets Terrell and she's doing the game with him, like they're connecting, they're becoming
Yeah.
besties before our eyes. And then ever since then, they've just kind of been each other's person. Like they've said that they've jumped out of planes together. They've done like the wildest stuff amongst her rise in career and also his rise in career. So
Yep.
I definitely agree with that. I don't think I don't. So then I get a question of that too, because I wondered, like, is there always like a person out there for someone? And I do wonder that. I don't think everyone ends up having a person, but I do think it's very possible. You just right
Yeah.
timing. Who knows? Right place as well. Same situation as
Yeah.
like soulmates. Like you never know where they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Or like all of those stories where like I was circling on Twitter a little bit ago. There's a lot of these where like a couple who gets married like in their late 20s
Mm-hmm.
discover that they have a photo from their childhood where they're both in it. But one person's
Yeah.
in the back and then they're the focus. Or like they find out that they had like all of these different connections and that realistically they should have met. I saw like a
Yeah.
video the other day about a girl saying like she was super best friends with this guy in college and he was
Mm-hmm.
always like, "Oh, you got to meet my roommate. I think you and my roommate would like mesh really, really well." She didn't meet his roommate for like 3 years.
Oh.
And then when she finally did, now she's getting married to that roommate. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like,
See.
you know, the world works in mysterious ways. Sometimes a
Yeah.
person is like hovering in your peripheral, or you'll meet a person one time and then you come back and you're like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm. That's true too. I've always wondered that. I remember I thought about that one time where I was like, some certain similar like story I had come across, and I was like, I wonder, like, assuming like I have a soulmate, have I met them already and just like don't
Yeah.
know? Like, I've thought about that for sure. It's also like low key annoying, but like I'm
You're
also
like,
just
hurry
like,
up.
right,
We're
like
on
what the
you.
heck? Yeah, but it's also like fun. I like kind of like a little puzzle piece, like because it's like when people find those things out, and it's like you find the little kind of like what's the right word when you have like a mystery? You find the little clues, and you go
Yes.
back to it, and you find how they came to be together,
The
and it's
little links.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good example. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will to say, I will to say, pause. I will say, I realized I was like, wait, hold up. Because I was reading at the same time. I will say, I would like to know, do you think there are, or more so, what would be the pros and cons of believing in the idea of soulmates? Like, how does it impact your approach to relationships today?
Mm.
And
Okay. So,
do you need
no,
to think
you
about it for a
do you have
second?
more? No, no, no. I got
Okay.
my answer to this one.
Okay.
So kind of alluded to it throughout
Mhm.
like the entire time we've been talking, but
Yeah.
like I do believe in it. I do believe in the idea that like people have soulmates, that you can find a soulmate, you can find the person for you. I
Mhm.
don't know if I believe in like the idea of the one, like
Yeah.
there's only one person out there for you
Exactly.
who's
Hmm.
like for you.
Hmm.
But because of that and because of all of these idealistics, you open the podcast saying we're both hopeless romantics. Holding on to that idea makes it a little bit more challenging to wade through the work.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
because obviously all relationships are work. All
Yeah.
relationships are work. They take time. If you are
Hmm.
someone like us who is super accustomed to being independent, individual, doing our own thing,
Hmm.
it requires a different kind of effort.
Yeah.
Um, so having this idealized thing in your brain makes it difficult when like obviously the world isn't like that, and when you're aware
Hmm.
of this, like at least for me, I feel like we're very similar in this.
Yeah.
I understand that I have some expectations where I'm just like, nope, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That's just all of the things I've read. That's not real life. That
Hmm.
doesn't happen. But then you see those exceptions. Like you have those exceptions where you hear these real life stories, or you like
Hmm.
see this like couple and you learn about them and you're like, wait, that is what I have up here. So it does exist.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of holding yourself to this expectation, which can be challenging. And it makes it like, I've been told to kiss a lot of sapos, to kiss a lot of frogs and stuff like
Hmm.
that to find it. But it's just kind of like, why? Why
Yeah.
can't like that person just like show up? But it's also, would you even know? Would you even know
Mm.
unless you put in the effort? So it's that idea. In Spanish, we have this phrase called media naranja.
Hmm.
So you're other half of an orange. It's half of an orange. My mom told me
Okay.
about this. That's what we call, like, that's what a phrase we use for that soulmate. And so since my mom told me, I was like, that's so cute. And it's based like in this long story. Like I did like some research into it, and
Mm.
I liked it. And so I was like, I want to find my media naranja. I want to
Yeah.
do that. But it's more challenging when you have to put it into perspective of like the real world and like understanding like there's a
Yeah.
balance. Some stuff you will get like your cute little like fairy tale, your cute little like moments that you've been
Hmm.
holding up in your head. And then other things, it's like, no, no, not
Yeah.
accurate.
Gotta
Take
let
it
it
down a
go.
notch kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I can agree. I think as I've gotten older, it's become more realistic to match with like real life. Because it definitely, like, I remember like middle school to high school, I had this like idea in my head because of all the stories and the movies and the TV shows, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's gonna be like the cute find your the one in high school moment, where's the Troy to my Gabriella? Like, it's just like so extra too, Um, and then as I was getting ready to go to college, I was like, oh, well, there's also college romance. There's also finding a one in college. Um, and then as I got older, it was like, girl, you are holding on to a lot of like storytelling, like
Yep.
fictional things. And while they are cute, and sometimes they do happen in person, like you got to be a little bit more realistic. As for specifically in regards to soulmates and things like that, I do I don't know if I approach people in regards to my idea of soulmates, because once again, I do
Mm-hmm.
believe in the idea of that person's going to be for you if they're for you, like
Yes. Yeah.
not like they're going to naturally match you, so you don't need to necessarily be like hunting for it, like looking it down. And sometimes those things just happen and you don't know that they're
Mm-hmm.
happening. um so even in regards to like finding your people and stuff too, like it just kind of happens. You can't really plan it, and that's kind of where I've kind of taken regards in that. um so I was wondering that, like, do I how do I approach relationships? And I think for me, I do have high standards, but I've my standards over time, once again, as I've thought about this, college, they were a bit higher in unrealistically. Now, though, they are still high, but they're realistically high. I, for me, I just like like I want you to be respectful. I want you to know, just be a decent human being, like understand who I
But
am.
are those high standards or are those
No,
just
you know what?
standards?
Thank you. So thank you for
Because
recap. Yeah. Hmm.
I have this argument with people all the time because I'm
Yeah.
told I'm picky and I have high standards. I'm like, I don't. Let me give you my standards, and I'll give them.
Yes.
And they're like, oh. I was like, mm-hmm,
Thank you.
exactly
Thank
what you
you.
just said.
Yes.
Everyone should
Hmm.
be kind and respectful and
Exactly.
like a decent
Yes.
human being.
Hmm. Thank you for, yep, that's what I meant to say.
Mm-hmm.
Respect is like regular standard. Yeah. Um, so what would be a good example of a high standard? You know what though, to be honest, Sabrina, I think my standards are regular. So
No, they
yeah,
are.
that they were high in college. Yeah, but like now, like even things like respect is just
Mhm.
like basic,
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
fun, you don't have to be funny, but that'd be cool, if you got a little haha humor, that'd be nice.
yeah.
But like, I don't know. I just like, for me, I think it's just like natural. So I don't necessarily hunt for it. I
Hmm.
just have like standards. Another thing that's in the news, like you're going to have to respect who I am and what I do. Like the whole Jonah Hill thing that's happening right now. I don't know if you read about that.
No.
Oh man. So like, let me give you a quick recap. Side note, really
Okay.
quick. Jonah Hill's ex posted text messages about how he was like, "Hey, I don't want you posting yourself." Mind you, she's a surfer. She's a surf instructor. "I don't
Hmm.
want you posting pictures of yourself in bathing suits, surfboarding with guys. I don't want you doing this." He was like, "I have set my boundaries and I just expect you to respect them, or have made myself clear, but you're not respecting it." People are like, there's a difference between boundaries and literally trying to control someone. So like for me,
Hmm.
regular standard is, if I'm an introvert and I like a little bit of peace after work, know that that's not an issue. We don't have to, it's not a beef.
Yeah.
Just know that I need to just come in and decongest, not, yeah, I guess decongest, just kind of like chillax a bit. Simple things like that. Or if I'm a dancer not that I'm out here, doing a lot, but like, respect my career and things like that.
Hmm.
Simple things, I think, as far as standards go. But yeah, that was the latest news.
Oh, I didn't
One
know about that one. I didn't know
once
about that
again,
one.
yeah, once again, we're recording this in the summer. But that was the news. This was the news at the time. Um,
Yeah.
that's a good one to note then. Yeah. What about, so we talked about this a little bit, personal growth then. It seems like both of ours have changed over time in regards to
Hmm.
relationships then. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, I think we're very much on the same page of like,
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, when I was little, I was like, this person has to do this, or like, has to be really good with their words so that I can have like this. I mean, I am a person who can quote all of the proposal scenes from Pride and Prejudice, both of Dorothy's
Yeah.
proposals. I got them up here, locked and
Hmm.
loaded. They're in here. But I'm like, no, that's unrealistic. Not everybody, no.
Hmm.
Also, not everybody is comfortable with that kind of language.
Yeah.
But it's also that idea of like, you can't really let go of this thought of like, I do believe there are soulmates. So I would like to find mine.
Yeah.
And how that does pose a bit of a challenge sometimes
Hmm.
when you're like, what if I'm just going to be out there as a 24-year-old kind of thing?
Yeah.
You as an almost 25-year-old
Ooh, yeah. At the time, I
at
will
this
be.
time.
Yeah, at the time
Ye-
of the drop, I will be. So, future me, let me know how it's going. But
Maybe we find someone at Disney World for you. Maybe that's what happens in a
right,
week or two, in two
right.
weeks.
In 2 weeks, yeah, Disney World. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying though. Like you never know. So I think that's
Mm-mm.
why I'm so comfortable just being me and just kind of
Yeah.
like being chill because I really do think also in regards to soulmates, I don't think I said this, but I feel like it naturally happens. Like
Yes.
I don't expect something to just like instantly, I think it kind of happens. You can't control when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see. We never know. 5 years down the
Yep.
line, it could be a whole different story. But I do think like the power of love stories does like while they could set those like really ridiculous like ideas of love sometimes from Disney and forward, it does really help us understand our ideas of what we want relationship wise and like for that idea of soulmates. Um, specifically because even when we realize it's like a little bit ridiculous as we grow older as we can kind of like pick and choose what makes sense for us and what doesn't. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of nice to like have these unrealistic standards like when we're like 10 and then kind of like as we grow older and
Work your
wiser,
way down.
yeah, work our way
Yes.
down. I like that idea versus like starting really bare minimum. It's kind of hard to build up, I feel
Yep.
like.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
um but I do think that over time I would like to see more stories evolve. Um like I said, like right now our new form of like social media of this time and age is TikTok. So then I see a lot of like TikTok meet cutes and things like that. I do want to
Hmm.
know what was your favorite meet cute?
Oh, girl, I don't have them memorized like that. Ah, bless you. Um, oh my God. I don't know. I'm like trying to think. I should have gone through these TikToks a little bit more in detail. Um,
That's okay.
I'm a big fan of the ones. There was one where it's like the friend approaches because as someone who does not easily approach people, I'm a really big fan of being like of like this idea that these two met because this one friend was like, "You think he's cute? I'm going to go tell him." And then going up and telling him. I saw one meet cute that was like that. It was just a really funny story. And like the girl was like, I couldn't believe my friend did that. I was stressing, blah, blah, blah. But now look at us. And so
Yeah.
I think that's cute. But I can't remember the specifics. I just remember thinking, like, oh, I love that. I'm just a personal fan of
Yeah.
that whole thing where a friend is just like, stop being a baby. I'm doing
Hmm.
this for you.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Um, so I like those. But I just like the meet cute page in general because they're just always so
Yeah.
cute. Or like when they can't really remember exactly the details. I like
Hmm.
that too, where they're like, but I thought this. And they're like, no, 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 this happened. They're like, because it's been so long.
Yeah. I'll give mine real quick before we like
Hmm.
recap. The most recent one I was talking about It was this younger couple. And they were walking in NYC, and they had met, I think, through like a party or a friend or something like that one day, and they ended up moving in together a week later. She moved into his apartment, and they just kind of like naturally occurred. They said they never talked about it, and never, it just came a thing. And now years later, they're engaged, getting ready to get married.
I have not seen that one. Oh my
I'll
God.
send it to you. I gotta find it
That's
and I'll
kind of
send it to you.
crazy.
It is pretty.
That's kind of crazy. I could never move in with a man. Well, I'm assuming. Like I just
Yeah, yeah. It was pretty wild. But once again, we're the same. We're the same in that regard. I think
I'm like
they
stranger
just seem more
danger.
free. Yeah,
No.
I know, same. They just seemed a little bit more free, so they matched each other, so that worked because he was okay with
That's
her moving
perfect.
in, and she was okay with moving in, and they were like super chill about it. They were like, we actually never really talked about it. She just kind of came in, and I just let her stay. They're like, okay, cool. So it was really cute.
Oh,
And literally they were talking about it, and he started tearing up about talking about their story, and I was like, melted.
that's so
Um,
cute. That's why I look at the groom at weddings instead of the bride
yeah, because you
when
got,
she's walking down the aisle.
yeah, oh, so cute. Um, I will say this was a fun conversation. That could be an
Yes.
ongoing topic forever and ever and ever. Maybe this story will look different. Maybe our perspectives will look different in a few years from now. We'll see.
Yeah. Check back in 5 years.
Right, exactly.
Ooh.
Um, Speaking of, you could go ahead and follow Sabrina at Nina.Sanchez24 on Instagram, and then on Twitter at Nina Sanchez 24. No dot. I want to emphasize that. No
Yeah.
dot in the middle. But you could also go ahead and look at the episode description to get the specific handles there. Thank you so much, Sabrina, for always hopping on. Once again, this was like a fun episode. I
Thank you
hope it's
for having
romantic.
me.
Of course.
Oh,
Of
I love talking about these things.
Thank you, the listeners, for your support. Make sure you go ahead and follow this podcast and share it with your friends. In that Q&A section, go ahead and tell us what you thought about the episode. In the poll section, is there the one? Answer yes or no, or maybe what do you think? Let us know, share your thoughts. This has been the Introvert Social Hour. Get some sunshine, get some air, have an amazing week, and I will see you next week on the Introvert Social Hour. Thanks for joining. Bye.